Hallo, prof.
Hallo Carina,
Hoe gaan dit?
goed dan met jou?
Nee, wat? Ons hardloop rond. Je weet, om buiten te verkoop is maar elke dag se groot actie.
Jy dan herstel van jou buitelandse trip af.
Ja, ek het maandag teruggekom. Ja, mense is mos maar moegerig vir 'n tydjie, maar dis alright. Ja, dis maar hoe dit is. Ja.
Ja, ek is baie bly, Carina, kan ek jou 'n groot guns vra?
Mhm.
As jy nie omgee, kan ons dalk hierdie in Engels doen.
Ja, dis reg.
Okay, want ek jou sê dit gaan my 'n dag spaar om dit weer te
Te vertaal. Ja, nee,
ja, want dan kan ek
raak
dit
nie
vir my.
moeilik wees. Ja.
Okay. Right, okay. Die eerste ding wat ek net okay, let me just point out to you, I'm going to record this, so,
Okay.
but whatever we do with the data, we aggregate this so your privacy is protected. Nothing will leave, under your name or anything. So
Okay.
what we do is we put everything together and then we draw some conclusions from that. Thank you.
Okay. Sounds good.
Thank you very much. Let's see. I got these. Yeah, okay. Then you've been involved, what I understood from Jans Canal, for a long time in the wine industry. And you are making your own. What is the correct term nowadays? Cup classique or
Yeah. Yeah, well, for our bottle fermented sparkling wine, the correct term is Cup Classique. Yeah.
Is it? Because we used to call it the method.
Cup Classique, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I think the association, the Cup Classique Association, basically decided that, if you want to build more a brand for Cup Classique, you can't refer to method, because a method is a method. So it's not the name.
Okay.
So the name should be Cup Classique, and not Method Cup Classique, because actually it's method traditional or method champenoise, and the name is really Cup Classique. Yeah.
Okay.
So I think it's a good change, and some people still struggle to talk about Cup Classique because in a way, if you use the abbreviation MCC, it sounds in a way better than CC. What is CC?
Yeah. I thought so.
Yeah.
Carina,
but we must just use the full name.
Yeah, before becoming CEO of KLEINE ZALZE Wines, where did you cut your teeth, to put it that way, in the wine industry?
Yeah, so I joined Stellenbosch Farmers Winery in 1998. So that sounds like a very long time ago. October 1998 in the marketing department. And then in 2000 was the merger of Stellenbosch Farmers Winery and Distillers Corporation to form Distel. Yeah. So then I became head of marketing in wine for all the estate wines. So at that time, the Distillers Corporation still had alles verloren. Meerlus had just moved. They still had Rietvallei. They still had Tenniskraal, Jacobsdal, plus then Plezier de Mol from the SW side.
Yeah.
And then I actually moved to set up a marketing and sales company for all the premium wines, which was called Cape Legends.
Okay.
And then in 2007, Mr. Scannell said, no, you must now come back to be head of wine marketing globally for Distel, because it was a mess, in his words.
Okay.
And so that was kind of the whole portfolio management and the whole managing the wine business from a marketing perspective. And then in 2010, I became the segment director. So that was the director responsible for the total wine business of Distel.
Okay.
which I did till 2013. And then Mrs. Cannell left and Richard Rushton came, and his first words were, he believes all alcohol is equal. So we had no more wine and spirits and RTD segment directors. And yeah, people also only drink really cheap alcohol or really expensive, nothing in the middle. Yeah, so I can never agree with any of those. But anyway, so then I moved back to marketing to head up all the premium wine and spirits from a marketing perspective. And then in 2017, I left because I just could not, reconcile with a new way of doing Indestel. And then I did for a while consulting, and then Kobus actually asked if I would come to KLEINE ZALZE to head up sales and marketing and international, which I did for almost 2 years until the then CEO left and I became the CEO as well. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so you are really a full-blooded wine
Wine
person.
person.
Have you ever worked with Rudolf de Toy?
Yeah. We worked a long time when I started at SFW, he was already there in the wine department, and we worked in marketing in wine as colleagues for quite a few years until he left the company. Yeah. But very nice guy. Really, really
He's
excellent person.
He's one of my ex-students
Okay.
from years ago, because he first trained as a winemaker. I think he finished his studies, and then he started to do a course in marketing at the Cape Technikon. Very nice guy. I was very fond of him. Yeah.
Wonderful person.
Yeah. Karina, now and now KLEINE ZALZE is owned by a French company.
That's right, yeah. So Advini bought KLEINE ZALZE in September 2022.
Yeah.
So and now we're part of obviously the bigger Advini South Africa group.
Yeah.
So they now own KLEINE ZALZE, Ken Forrester, Stellenbosch Vineyards, L'Avenir and Le Bonheur are the main ones. Yeah.
Okay. So is that the same company that always owned L'Avenir?
Yeah. So their first, what happened is they bought La Roche in France. Yes. And at that time, La Roche owned L'Avenir in South Africa and a property in Chile. And then eventually they decided to sell the property in Chile, but keep L'Avenir in South Africa. And just before I left Distel, I actually sold Le Bonheur to them because that was part of Mr. Rushton's drive, was to get rid of all the estates. So then sold Le Bonheur to them, and then they bought Ken Forrester. And then with buying Ken Forrester, they needed a bigger production facility. So I think that's actually, they bought Stellenbosch Vineyards very much as the kind of logistical production hub for the business. And then they bought us in 2022. Yeah.
Okay. So it's quite a massive organization, just above you, which you are part of.
So in Advini South Africa is managed quite separately from the big Advini France. So they just last year appointed an MD for Advini South Africa. She used to be like the head of finance for Advini South Africa, but since they bought us, the business became a lot bigger. So we now have an MD here, so all the CEOs or GMs report to her, and then there's a board that she reports to.
Right. Karina, There's quite a lot of talk nowadays, of course, about NFTs and blockchain technology, the application thereof in the wine industry. Have you had any experience with that?
Not yet. I also see it and don't,
Yeah,
don't really know what to do with it, but
yeah.
no, not up till now, no.
Okay, okay. Because what I guessed or what I picked up from other interviews is that nobody has really applied it, but they see it, especially blockchain, a room for that on the production. In other words, the
Mm.
backside.
Yeah, yeah,
Not as yet, because our wines are just not too expensive enough to warrant things like NFTs at this point in time.
yeah, yeah,
Would you
yeah,
also
yeah.
share that view?
No, I agree because, in the end, there are some of our estates getting to that point, but
Yeah,
certainly KLEINE also is not at the point where it's collectible in the sense that you will apply NFTs and, but
okay.
it's probably maybe a Kanonkop can get there, maybe a Meerlist, maybe a Eben Sadi, but I think for a winery like us, or even Spier, or even Liebensdahl, we're just
Yeah,
not at that level where we sell wine at a price that you can
yeah.
actually say it is worth doing. Yeah.
Yeah, I spoke to Johan Kruger, and he said to me they tried it about 3 or 4 years ago, and he said it was so expensive. His words were, "I don't think I'm ever going to touch it again." So okay, so
So if
that's
that's
just
his sentiment, then definitely I'm not going there.
no, no, no. Although I think blockchain might have, some application
Yeah, yeah,
abilities in time, especially in your operational side. I think that there might
yeah,
be room for
yeah.
that. But NFTs, I go along with that. And another thing that I picked up is that people see those NFTs more. Guys who are interested in it are guys that buy wine as an investment and not to
Correct.
consume
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah,
uh, and they keep it in the cellar in France under the perfect conditions, everything, and then when they're
yeah,
ready, they
yeah,
move it on to somebody else.
yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
No, and that is also a unique issue maybe with wine is storage, because
yeah, yeah,
you release a new vintage every year, and
yeah.
if you has to keep all the wine at the cellar, it can become, I think, quite a nightmare to store everything under perfect conditions, for the cellar itself. Yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the advantages of somebody that communicates with most wineries quite frequently, I'm on the list that I get mail from, is that whenever there's a time for the new harvest to come in, you get these very good bargains that you buy at time because space is needed. So from that point of view,
You
the,
understand the space.
yeah, keep the
Yeah.
NFTs away. Anyway, uh, Karina, tell me, what do you do to promote or enhance the image of your estate and your wines? What is the major
Look,
activities
we
that you?
we're quite old-fashioned. We do social media. We regularly, at least 3 times a week, 3 to 4 times a week, we'll have Facebook, Instagram posts. We do not use an agency. We basically do it ourselves because we believe it must be authentic. It must be from the cellar. It must be stuff
Okay.
happening now. So that's the one part. We do quite a bit of traditional media still. I'm a big supporter of keeping a wine publication alive in Die Burger. So
Mm, okay.
I regularly support Versnit and just make sure at least wine stays top of mind. we do some traditional magazines or giveaways. We do loads of consumer tastings and consumer events. We have a monthly newsletter that goes to our database.
Okay.
We, you know, yeah, so I think we really do and we try to be really consistent in the execution, that it all has the KLEINE ZALZE look and feel, and it all talks the same language. So yeah, so we actually do nothing earth shattering. We do a lot of just the basic stuff to promote
Yeah,
KLEINE ZALZE. Yeah.
more or less, except for the social media, the rest is what you one would be able to label as, say, traditional,
Yeah, yeah. And then
above the
obviously
line.
we work because we try to work a lot with our export markets as well.
Mhm.
So it is a lot around making sure they have content, because that's
Okay,
the
okay,
main thing is, it's easy to say, and that's why I don't believe in using agencies for your social media, because in the end,
yeah,
all they do is they ask you for the pictures and the content anyway. And by that
exactly.
time, I could have posted it myself.
Yeah,
It's
and
like
and and and
really
then they own
ridiculous.
it. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So, yeah, and we obviously being visible in the trade is the other thing. So we just work with all our partners, being it international or in South Africa, to really make sure you
Okay,
visible in store as well. Yeah.
okay.
But nothing earth-shattering, I'm sorry, that I can share.
No, 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 no problem. What percentage of your wines are exported?
Currently about 65.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
good. That's very good.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And you don't have problems with the harbor?
We all have problems with the harbor.
Yeah.
No, February was a nightmare because the wind, if it's not the harbor itself and the operation of the harbor, then it's the
Yeah, yeah,
wind that
yeah,
is the problem.
yeah,
But obviously, the industry is working really hard with the harbor authorities, with the Western Cape government, with government, to improve harbor efficiency and conditions. So from
yeah.
SA Wine side, there's regular, they have a seat on
Y-
the working group that's
Yeah.
working on the issues in the harbor. Unfortunately, they can do nothing about the southeaster. If the wind is blowing,
Yeah.
the wind is blowing, and the harbor comes to a standstill. So there's nothing you can do.
Karina, if you look at the other 35% that is sold locally, how much of that would be on site, and how much of that would go to retailers?
Yeah, I was actually I've never looked at the percentage that
Yeah,
way. Maar I can quickly. We can be bigger on site, to be honest.
yeah.
Nee, gewoon niet. Yeah, so we probably about 8% that we sell from the cellar door.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
it's quite an important part of our business. But the biggest part in South Africa we'll sell through the supermarkets, Checkers, Pick
Okay.
n Pay, Woolworths. Yeah.
Um,
Those are the big ones.
do they also
And then
hammer
obviously
you? Yeah. Sorry.
no, they always want more.
So they also
But we
bully you.
also a little we're quite different from the norm. We sell quite a high percentage in the on-trade. So
Yes.
we sell about 25% of what we sell is in the on-trade, where a general winery will be closer to 12%. So we sell
Yeah.
almost
Okay.
double the average in restaurants. Yeah.
Okay. That's great.
So
That's good.
yeah. And that's something we're quite proud of, and that we work hard to keep going.
Yeah.
That's all. Oh,
Because I think your top restaurants is most probably your best source for word of mouth for
yeah.
spreading it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And tell me, do you also have the experience that people, at your cellar door, uh, once they've been there, they've been through, whatever you can offer them there. They are the people that tend to become your most loyal customers over time.
Yes, definitely, definitely. We have a lot of Germans and Dutch and UK visitors in the summer.
Okay.
And
Okay.
a lot of them are repeat visitors. So they come here every year for 3-4 months, and they come in those 3-4 months. They arrive and they fill the boot, and then they go away. And a few weeks later, they're back and they fill the boot again.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah, so we really like our loyal returning customers.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's absolutely great.
Yeah. No, and they also eat at the restaurant, regularly. They will come a few times during the 3 months. They'll come and eat at the restaurant.
Okay, yeah, I must say that restaurant of yours is outstanding. It's really the couple of times that I've been there, that food is world class.
Yeah, it's very simple. The whole setup is very simple, but I think the food is great. Yeah.
But like the other day when we had lunch together there, it was excellent, that food. I really loved it. It was beautiful. The traceability and authenticity, what do you call it? Authenticity of your wines. What do you do to protect that or keep a record of it?
Well, we are lucky or unlucky. I don't know which way it goes in the South African industry, because we have to report literally every single little thing to the Wine and Spirits Board, and everything is tracked and traced to the drop, almost from exactly where you harvested to exactly when it goes in the bottle. And that final bottle has a seal and it has a unique number, and you can trace and track everything. No one else in the world has that. So that's only us. It's a pain, but it's something we should be more proud of, and actually should promote a lot more. That seal on the bottle means a lot, and what it means and how you track what's inside the bottle. Obviously, and that's another question, actually. In the end, you can say you can use NFTs for authenticity and traceability, but at the end of the day, that final bottle can still be changed. It might be in that cellar for 10 years, but you can still get a dishonest person swapping it for something else.
Yeah.
So I think we have the best traceability in the world, and we should be a lot more proud of. And maybe that whole traceability system is something that can be investigated for. How can we use blockchain to make that easier and electronic? Because a lot of it is still manual. And maybe there's a better way than a seal on a bottle to actually, I don't know, do the whole traceability thing.
I personally think that you're talking about the ZALZE system. I think just looking from the outside, and I might sound ignorant, but I really feel that is totally undermarketed.
No, it is. It is
Specifically for your export market, because I mean, if the other day I just asked Bertu van der Westhuizen at Alto, just send me two, because I didn't have a bottle of Alto here. So just send me, some of those. I want to illustrate it to somebody. Send me those two codes, and again, here comes the whole thing. Exactly the cultivars, when it was, where it is. The whole thing is there.
Yeah. And, on the WOZA website, there is a video explaining it all. But, WOZA doesn't have the money to market that to the world. But all the producers should be doing that all the time. I make a point of telling everyone exactly what that seal is and exactly what it means.
Yes.
But I agree, we go through all the trouble of having it on a system, and
Yeah.
then people don't know what it stands for
Yeah.
or what
No,
it's used for.
oh, but it's amazing. I think I spoke to someone else, and they said they were astonished. She's just come back from France. They don't know about this. They don't know about this
Yeah,
harvesting.
and
Yeah,
they don't have a system of their own. That is
yeah,
even
yeah,
worse. You know, in the
yeah, yeah.
end, we literally the only people that can say, if it says Sauvignon Blanc on the bottle, I can show you which Sauvignon Blanc vineyard it is from. You know, with this
Yeah, yeah,
whole old wine project and the heritage vineyards, literally, you know, you can't plant a vineyard without telling Wine and Spirits Board, administered by Salvers, that
yeah.
you're planting this vineyard, how many stockies,
So,
where exactly. So that's why we can actually certify all those vineyards, because you know exactly when they were planted. So
somebody, before I forget this, somebody called them the wine police.
they are the wine police, but it's not a
But
bad thing. I think it's
no,
a good
no,
thing that there is
it's
the
very
wine
positive.
police.
It's a very
Yeah,
positive.
yeah.
Yeah.
We must just make sure the wine police keep doing their job, and you know they don't fall by the wayside like the Air Force, for instance.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No. I think that's one thing that I think will last a long time, because there's a vested interest for everybody
Mm,
to stick to that. And I mean, if you know what I understood is, and what you've just mentioned is the number of times and what they measure. You know, they say this is what you pressed, so you can't come up with double that amount
mm.
grape juice at the
No,
end.
and
You know, it's impossible.
the
You know,
inspect
so
yeah, the inspectors come and they check, and you must they actually do an audit. So you have
yeah,
to
yeah, yeah,
be on top of this. Yeah.
yeah.
But
You
like
know,
you say,
then
we go through
yeah,
all this trouble. We actually need to put in a new effort to market this thing
yeah,
that we have that no one else
yeah,
has. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. You know, the if you look at the kleine ZALZE brand as such, uh, what do you do to engage customers more and try and by engaging them more to sort of create more loyalty towards your brand? Are there any specific things that you do?
Yeah, I think obviously that's part of the newsletter to inform them, the ones that we have on our database.
Yeah.
That is, you know, why we do a lot of smaller consumer events, because that's where you can really talk to people. We kind of walked away from massive wine festivals where people are just drinking wine and actually they
Yeah,
don't remember what they drank, they don't
Frank,
remember what they
that's right.
did. So
That's right.
we do a lot of smaller wine dinners, smaller consumer events where you can really engage with people, really talk to them.
Okay.
You know, I do myself, I just did quite a lot of literally in-store wine tastings in the Netherlands where you can still do a tasting and talk to consumers.
Hmm.
Um, so that is, you know, and obviously everyone visiting the cellar door, you want to turn into a loyal
Yeah,
customer.
yeah.
And then we do have a wine club where, you know, if you buy over a certain amount, you get X% discount. If you buy over a higher amount, you get more discount. So that's also sometimes difficult to administer, but it's an important part of what we
Yeah.
do. You know,
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Okay. Um, okay.
And
I'm
that
not
was
gonna.
maybe to illustrate how difficult sometimes just going digital can be. Because when I arrived here, there was no way to buy Kleine Zalze online. Nothing.
Mhm.
They only had this wine club at the cellar door thing. And
Mm.
that was literally, I started at Kleine Zalze when the hard lockdown started. on the 1st of April 2020. So
Painful.
I had to, within 2 weeks, get an online solution.
Yeah.
And, but then for a long time, I now had like a cellar door wine club and an online wine club. And do you think I can get those people that still want to send an email and physically come and get their stuff at the cellar door to buy online or even just register online? They just don't want to. So I still have like a little bit of a hybrid, but they now aligned that the benefits are exactly the same. So now no one can complain and say, oh, I can get this at the cellar door. Oh, I see I can buy that online. They're now exactly the same, but they two systems.
I think the reason for that, just from the outside, is the experience that they have every time when they come and collect at the cellar door.
Yeah, but people want that personal touch that is
That's right.
kind of weird. Yeah. And we even made the online part to say we can deliver or you can collect. So people will also do that. They will actually buy online and come and collect. But then you have that old-fashioned system of they want to send an email, and then you must send an invoice. And if they just order online, it all happens automatically. But anyway,
it's so simple. You know, do you do your own distribution of wine in South Africa, or do you use one of these other companies?
Impossible. So we work with Winimark. There are a few big distributors. So it's Winimark, Meridian, Heineken does their own, DGB does their own, KWV does their own. Yeah. So I work with Winimark. Yeah.
Winimark is the biggest one of the lot, eh?
I think Winimark is stronger in the retail. Meridian is still stronger in the on-trade. But Winimark, I think, is a bigger company than Meridian, to be honest.
Okay. Yeah. So Winimark takes care of both your retailing and your
on-trade.
On-trade, yeah. Great.
All that I do not do through Winimark is obviously cellar door sales, and then the 2 golf clubs and a few accounts in town that want to buy from us directly, and I do Woolworths on my own. They don't do Woolworths. So, Woolworths is kind of a separate system, if I can put it that way. Yeah.
Does Woolworths have guys come and taste whatever they want?
Yeah. So Woolworths has buyers. So basically now this time of the year, we taste different tanks with them. We make up the blends with them, and that goes under the Woolworths label. So, so we do 4 wines for them that are co-branded, they call them. So they different from our cellar selection, but on that level, more or less. And then they also take our vineyard selection Shannon as is. So that's branded as per the normal market. And then we also do 2 Cup Classiques for them with their own label. So, they can be sometimes tricky to deal with, but it's good business. Really is.
Yeah. No, I think it's quite a chip on the shoulder if you can get your wine in with them, because I know they're full of nonsense, nonsense in a good way. In a good way, yeah. Okay. What are your major challenges that you face in distribution and sales?
Yeah, I think, I know. For me, a risk is that I'm very strong in South Africa and in Europe, but I'm basically, if I go east, I'm only in Japan, and if I go west, I have a little bit of business in Canada, and that's it. So my weakness is I'm geographically vulnerable, if I can put it that way. So for me, my biggest challenge is how do I actually access the US market or even South America, and how do I access more of the markets in the East other than Japan?
Yeah, yeah.
So that's my, and obviously Europe is easier because the people at least know where South Africa is
Yes, yeah, yeah,
and that we produce wine. But yeah, the objective should really be to expand geographically is
yeah.
my one big challenge. And my
Mm,
other big challenge is how do you sell more premium wine? Now it is great that my cellar selection is everywhere available, but
mm,
how do I grow the premium wine side? That's my
yeah.
other big objective. Yeah.
Yeah, you must probably very filled in about the Grand Pinotages, the the six brands there. Is that also a thing that you would like to be associated with eventually, or
Look,
you don't have
Nick,
any desire?
yeah, that's the one thing. That's about the only thing we don't do is
Okay.
have a focus on pinotage. We a big producer of Chenin Blanc. We have a big focus on heritage certified Chenin. We're the biggest buyer protector of heritage vineyards in Stellenbosch or in the
Mm,
country
mm,
actually. Um, and then we have on the red side quite a big focus on Cabernet because that is
yeah,
what does exceptionally well in Stellenbosch.
yeah,
And then we do great Sauvignon Blanc, great Chardonnay, great Syrah. So
yeah.
you can't go like, I can't be like great at everything. We make
No,
great
no.
couple so Pinotage is just kind of, it's never been a big focus for us.
Yeah.
So we have a Pinotage in our cellar selection. For some export markets, they want a Pinotage. So we make a bit for family reserve and vineyard selection, but it's not what we hang our hat on as we
Okay.
are great at Pinotage. And now
Okay.
with being part of Advini and Lavenir, such a big focus on Pinotage, I'd much rather let Lavenir be the seller doing
Yeah.
great things with Pinotage and being part of Grand Pinotage. And Dirk is passionate about Pinotage and on the
Mm,
association board and
mm.
yeah, he's now done tastings in Germany for Grand Pinotage. So I just feel we don't also have to do
Yeah, no,
that.
but I for a moment I forgot that Lavenier, who's part of your setup,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
is
yeah,
one of
yeah.
the six Grand Pinotages.
Exactly,
That's so
exactly.
so
So it's
you there.
actually nice to say, for
Yeah,
Pinotage, I refer you to Lavenir. So
yeah, leave it for them.
yeah, 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 yeah. We have too many
Uh,
other things.
yeah, absolutely. Looking at you've got quite a diverse. If you just look at,
Portfolio,
well,
yeah.
let's talk SKUs. The amount of SKUs that you take to the market,
Yeah.
and all of them. By the way, your Chenin Blanc is the four that we tasted the other day. To
Mhm.
me, your your lowest priced one was the best. I
But that's
I loved it. I loved it.
yeah,
It,
yeah,
it was
yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
good. It's
But
really,
that's the beauty of wine is that, there's nothing wrong with choosing what you like the most. And I think that's
yeah,
nice about offering the different ones is they can be
yeah,
unwooded or wooded or,
yeah,
you
yeah, yeah.
know, it's the diversity is actually great.
Your Chenin Blanc vines, are they quite old?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So for the seller selection, which is
Mm,
the entry level one or our entry level, it's not
yeah.
entry level in the industry sense. They're all bush vines, but they're not all heritage certified. And for that, we source from Stellenbosch, Paul, Swartland.
Okay.
Then vineyard selection is all Stellenbosch, all heritage certified.
Okay.
So that's also bush vines, but all older than 35. And
Oh,
same with the
beautiful.
family reserve, all older than 35 years. Yeah, yeah,
That's why you get that taste. If
yeah.
the first Shannon that I drank that really stuck to me, whoa, because I just about never drink white wine, and that's one of the exceptions. was when I drank a Chenin that was made from a few years ago, 38 years. All the grapes came from vines that were 30 years old minimum.
Oh, yeah.
It's so beautiful.
It
So
does make a
because
difference. Yeah.
yeah, the older vines in Shannon, to me, I can almost taste something that translate into the taste because of the aging
Of
process
the
that they've
beneath.
been.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's
Yeah. Yeah.
beautiful. Karina, if you look at cost today, what is your major cost? If you were to
Ah,
just briefly,
you know, obviously, it also depends, if you look at your cheaper price points, the wine is a bigger portion of your cost of the final bottle.
okay,
Um, and as you move up, obviously barrels are expensive. Not only buying them, but fermenting in a barrel and looking after them and keeping them clean and topping them up. It's also a labor-intensive process.
yeah.
Um, so I think our biggest challenge remains that we have inflation in South Africa. So everything becomes more expensive, some by, inflation related, and then you have electricity and water that just gets exponentially more
Yeah.
expensive. So, we really, it's a struggle every year because our costs go up by 4 or 5%, but
Mm.
because you sell in an international market that until recently they didn't know what inflation was. They mostly
Yeah,
had
that's right.
deflation.
Mm.
So they do not understand a price increase. They just don't. So that is for the whole industry the biggest challenge is we have continuous rising cost of production in South Africa, but you can't necessarily give that to the market because they don't understand that. And the European wines are not increasing in price because they don't have increase in cost.
Yeah,
So then we come and in the end you will price yourself completely out of the market.
market, yeah.
So it's it that's an age old since I've been working in the wine
Mm.
industry that is an issue. Then we get help by a weakening rand. That's the only
Yeah,
thing.
yeah,
But that's also not, in another sense, that's actually bad again, because as the rand weakens, then the oil gets more expensive, then the energy costs go up. Then, it's like
absolutely.
this continuous cycle of
Yeah,
we had a little breather because after COVID, everything in Europe got a lot more expensive. And they had, for the first time, inflation in many
yeah,
years. So you had a small window of taking a price increase, a proper price increase.
yeah.
And now it's back to normal. We actually, French producers are lowering their prices. Italian producers are lowering their prices. And at least
Ah,
I can now say I can't make it lower. I can keep it the same, but I can't make it lower. So,
okay.
but that is a fundamental issue for the industry is the inflation in South
Okay.
Africa and everything just getting more expensive.
Yeah. Your the things that are picked up is also specifically glass and labels. Because somebody said to me that at one point in time imported quite a bit of foil from Ukraine, and when the
Yeah,
war broke out, of course that whole logistical chain
yeah.
came to a
No,
standstill.
it is interesting. Ukraine was a big producer of especially the sparkling wine foils, the wire
Yeah,
hoods, everything to do with champagne and sparkling wine. So
yeah,
now basically we have to get everything from Italy and a little bit from Finland actually.
mm,
Glass, we all complain about Consol or Ardak because they basically have a monopoly.
yeah.
But they're actually not bad on their pricing. So,
Okay,
you have less choice because you obviously you also work with imported bottles, but you try and work as much as possible with bottles in South Africa.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
you have less choice. It's less of a price issue and more of a choice issue.
yeah.
But they also, if energy prices go up, you can imagine those furnaces must run, and
Oh,
so you can't expect them not to give you a price increase if that's what's
yeah,
happening to energy.
yeah.
But they're usually really reasonable in their price increases. It's never above inflation. It's really reasonable.
Hmm.
Yeah, and on labels, you have to buy clever, you have to negotiate, you have to. So that's also not for me the biggest issue. It's just
Hmm.
however low you try and keep the increase, there is an increase,
Hmm.
and you can't necessarily put that through. And the
Okay.
other thing is obviously more and more people then just go to, well, we export the bulk and we produce in Europe.
Hmm.
And we don't want to do that because that's just less jobs in South Africa, less choice in suppliers. So the more people that will go, oh, it's cheaper to just produce in Europe, the worse it becomes for the rest and for the industry and for the country. It's like
Yeah,
exporting all your industries, all your jobs to the already rich countries. Why?
yeah. The other problem, of course, if you do it in bulk, then you lose the service thing that should. That's why I think it's undermarketed, but we've already spoke
Yeah, no,
about that.
that is a continuous fight
Yeah,
because they try all the time to get the bulk bottled in another country, also certified with a seal. And then we fight back all the time because we're
yeah,
saying we're paying a premium to actually
yeah,
produce in South Africa, and all we have for that is the seal. So
yeah,
don't give the seal to bulk that you have no control over what they blended with on the other side.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And there's no service inspector that can check. So, yeah. No, we have some standing issues that we keep fighting over.
Yeah. I remember from way back from my student days, one of the lecturers explained this concept very simple. He said the government, when they built the Sishin Saldanha
Yeah, yeah,
railway line, he said, now Japan says no, they want the raw stuff. He said, if we can just go one up and just sort of
correct.
melt it for them, then you export the ore, the labor, your electricity. There's so much things that as you've already referred to, that you
Yeah,
export and that the country would benefit from. So
yeah,
doing it bulk wine, then there's none of those benefits available anymore.
correct.
Uh,
Yeah, that is actually it's a big discussion and a big issue because
yeah,
someone exports in bulk, they produce in Europe, and they undercut me on the price,
yeah, yeah,
and then they grow. I lose the business,
yeah,
but the country lost a lot of jobs. So it's
absolutely.
it's like I say, a continuous
Yeah.
battle.
Karina, do you also use people for brand ambassadors?
Yeah, so I have 4 in the market that
Uh,
basically work. So I have a national sales manager, and he has 4 people working with him, and their job is to work with Vinimar all the time. Um,
okay.
yeah, so really their job is getting the listings, and then Vinimark should serve them. Their job
Mm,
is to do all those wine dinners, to engage the consumers. So they are out and about all the time. Yeah.
okay. And at Gauteng, Johannesburg specifically, is it still a
Yeah. So
major source of
I've,
business?
I have 2 people in Gauteng and 2 in the Cape.
Okay.
So yeah. We still have a lot of scope to grow in Gauteng because we're now kind of even between Gauteng and Western Cape, and Gauteng should be bigger. There are lots more people, and it should be bigger.
Yeah, because they've got a lot of very fine restaurants,
Mm, mm.
top class restaurants there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know, there's only one thing that I want to ask you, and that is your own CC that you produce, your very own one.
No, I
Uh,
don't. I don't know where. Maybe Jan had it wrong because I don't. We
oh,
we do a
okay.
KLEINE ZALZE one. I don't do one for myself. I wish I could.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if he
Okay.
was maybe referring to Milani or yeah, some of the other people who used to work at Estelle.
Oh, okay.
Because I wish I had my own, but I don't have any of my own wine.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
okay. Anyway, the ones that we tasted there was excellent too. All of them.
Yeah, 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 yeah. No, it
I
is
yeah.
something where we see a lot of growth potential still is in the Cup Classics. So
I I was astonished the other day to hear that 90% of Simon Suk's business is Kaapse Vonkel.
yeah, 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 it's Cup
Uh,
Classic. It's
uh,
huge. Yeah.
it's massive. You know, I mean, yeah. Well, it's
Well,
new.
you
It was
almost
new.
want to say, why don't they just stop the still wine production and just focus on the Cup Classics? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just to sort of what you call to hedge your bets a bit. You know,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
never
yeah,
know
yeah, 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 yeah,
because at
yeah,
the
yeah.
moment that nectar one that they put on there, I think it's a black diamond segment that demanded
Mm.
something slightly sweeter. That thing at the moment that there's some of it, it just flies apparently.
Yeah, but you know that actually that whole trend for sweet came from champagne. So the two big champagne brands in South Africa, Moet and Veuve Clicquot, they
Yeah.
both sell more of their sweet variant in South Africa than of the dry. So
Oh.
Veuve Clicquot has, you know, the yellow label, and then they
Mm,
have Veuve
mm,
Clicquot Riche. So Riche sells more than the normal yellow label. And Moe sells more Nectar Imperial than
yeah.
what they sell normal Moe. And that's why everything that is sweet in South Africa is called nectar.
Yeah.
So we're the only country that basically this whole category of demi-sec or sweet champagne is
Yeah.
called nectar.
Yeah.
And if you don't call it nectar, your market will not know what it is.
Yeah.
So Graham Beck actually launched a sweet one a few years ago and they called it Bliss. And
Yeah.
it didn't sell at all. And then they renamed it to Bliss Nectar and it's flying.
Yeah.
So you have to like call it
Nectar.
nectar. And that is for the big cup classic brands, that's half their business at least. It's the
Yes.
sweet stuff.
Oh,
And it's
it's
all the glamorous girls in Gauteng drinking it.
you know I just can't imagine drinking things like it. Really, I mean, I drink. I've got a very
Yeah, but you
wine.
know, it sounds but actually a sweet classic is for me more palatable than a sweet wine because
Yeah.
the
Yeah. Yeah.
bubbles and
Yeah.
the carbon dioxide actually makes it refreshing. Even though it's
Yeah.
sweet, it's
Yeah.
still refreshing. So I'd rather drink a sweet champagne, to be honest, than just a sweet still wine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it remains
Karina,
interesting.
um, is there anything about KLEINE ZALZE that you think I should know or we should know that you think is very good
Uh,
or outstanding?
I just think we have a lot of potential, and we just at this stage, you know, I don't even have a marketing person. We just understaffed, so there is so much more that can be done on the hospitality side, on the marketing side.
Okay.
So yeah, and the other thing is we finally have approval from the French for the capital to renew our cellar.
Hmm.
So that's very exciting for us. Yeah, so that will be a whole hopefully in about 18 months' time, we have a whole new cellar inside and a new hospitality area, and that's
Great.
quite exciting for us. Yeah, yeah,
Ah, great. Great.
yeah.
Great. Yeah,
Then you'll have
that's
to up the marketing game.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I can imagine it's tough out there. It's very tough out
Yeah,
there because and especially where you're in a country like us where your cost is becomes uncontrollable because of I must be careful what I name it. In any way, anything that this political dispensation touch turns into mud, overnight.
exactly. Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
it's a pity, but anyway. Krina, thank you very,
But
very much for your time and
it's a
for
pleasure.
sharing some very good stuff with me. I enjoyed it. I love your wines. I'm very fond. I must admire your Cabernets. The other day,
Yeah, yeah,
me
yeah,
and Jan Boland, Kutsia, and
yeah, yeah,
Jacques Dommese,
yeah.
we spent an afternoon there. I don't know how much we drank, but I know it was too much. But anyway, we managed to get back home in one piece and be back. We'll be back there, definitely. Uh,
Yeah, no, but let me know when you're coming and I'll come say
yeah.
hello.
Okay,
Yeah.
now I'll pop in. Thank you very
Okay.
much.
Thanks,
Okay.
Prof.
Take
Okay.
care.
Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.
Bye.